There is a very fine, extremely invisible line between simple, everyday impatience and total, aggressive, psychological disrespect. Most people, when faced with an obnoxious bully behind the wheel of a heavy machine, will quietly back down to avoid trouble. They will swallow their pride, hold their breath, and let the moment pass just to keep the peace. I used to be one of those passive people. I spent most of my life avoiding confrontation, letting minor insults slide, and telling myself that keeping quiet was just the mature thing to do. But on a freezing Friday night, at 1 o'clock in the morning, everything changed for me. I learned that when an entitled stranger tries to push you around simply because he thinks he can get away with it, giving him a taste of his own medicine is quite literally the most satisfying feeling in the human experience. Let me take you back to how it all started. It was just past 1 in the morning on a crisp, completely quiet autumn night. My 19-year-old cousin Leo and I had just walked out of a local movie theater after watching a late-night superhero blockbuster in IMAX. We were buzzing with excitement, talking about the action scenes, debating the plot twists, and enjoying that calm, empty street energy that only exists past midnight. But like most teenagers and young adults after sitting through a long 3-hour movie, we were both completely, utterly starving. Now, to truly understand my mindset that night, you have to know a small, somewhat embarrassing secret about me. I was 22 years old at the time, but I was a very late bloomer when it came to driving. I had only gotten my official driver's license a few months prior, and if I am being totally honest with you, I was still an extremely anxious driver. Driving at night on poorly lit roads made my palms sweat, and drive-thrus were my absolute worst nightmare. The tight concrete curbs, the narrow twisting lanes, the pressure of impatient drivers tailgating you while you try to read a glowing menu in the dark, it all triggered an intense amount of panic inside me. But Leo was my guest. He was starving, and the only place still open in our quiet little town was the local 24-hour fast food joint down the highway. I took a deep breath, gripped the steering wheel, and slowly pulled my sedan into the neon-lit parking lot. The bright sign was buzzing softly in the cold air. To my surprise, the drive-thru line was surprisingly long for 1 in the morning. There were already about 7 or 8 cars waiting in a tight single file, their exhaust fumes rising slowly into the dark night air. But everyone was behaving. Everyone was following those unwritten rules of human decency that keep society functioning. We were all exhausted, we were all hungry, and we were all waiting patiently in a neat, orderly queue, moving up 1 car length at a time. I pulled my sedan in behind a shiny silver SUV, making sure to leave just enough space between our bumpers so I wouldn't feel trapped. I put the gear in park, rested my elbows on the wheel, and tried to calm my racing nerves. Beside me, Leo was happily scrolling through his phone, humming the soundtrack from the movie we had just finished. Everything was peaceful, predictable, and completely calm, until he showed up, out of nowhere, from the pitch-black corner of the main parking lot. A heavily beaten-up black pickup truck suddenly materialized. Instead of driving around the back of the building to join the end of the line like every other rational human being, the driver slammed his foot onto the gas pedal. He cut straight across the striped blue handicap parking spaces, completely ignoring the painted road markings and safety barriers. He was not trying to find a parking spot. He was not trying to join the back of the queue. He was attempting to hijack the entire line. My heart instantly dropped right into the pit of my stomach. In my driver's side mirror, I saw his ridiculously bright high-beam headlights flashing violently, blinding me. He began creeping the heavy, rusted steel nose of his truck directly toward the narrow 4-foot gap between my front bumper and the rear of the silver SUV ahead of me. Leo immediately lowered his phone. His voice was suddenly sharp, tense, and confused. He looked at the truck and asked me what on earth this guy was trying to do. I gripped the steering wheel so hard that the skin on my knuckles turned completely white. I muttered to Leo that I had no idea, but my heart was already hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. As the silver SUV in front of me began to roll forward by a few feet, I gently tapped my gas pedal to close the gap, silently signaling to the truck that there was no room for him. But the truck driver did not care. He did not slow down. He did not stop. He just kept creeping forward. 3 feet away, 2 feet away, inches from my driver's side door. He was deliberately angling his vehicle diagonally across the pavement, threatening to drag his heavy, sharp steel bumper across the side doors of my relatively new sedan. I turned my head and looked directly through my side window. The windows of his truck were rolled down despite the freezing winter air. Inside sat a guy in his late 20s, wearing a backward baseball cap, slouched aggressively over his steering wheel. Sitting right next to him in the passenger seat was a young woman. She was staring straight ahead at the dashboard, looking deeply, visibly embarrassed to even be sitting in that vehicle with him. The driver slowly turned his head and locked eyes with me. He did not look apologetic. He did not give that polite wave people give when they make a mistake on the road. He just stared at me. It was a cold, arrogant, completely sociopathic glare. His eyes communicated a message that was loud and clear. Move your car right now, or I will smash into you, because I simply do not care about the consequences. Leo braced his hand hard against the dashboard and yelled at me that the guy was literally about to crash into us. A suffocating wave of pure panic washed over my entire body. My brain was racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, weighing my only 2 options. Option 1. Stand my ground, refuse to move, risk a terrifying and costly car accident, pay a massive financial deductible, and ruin my clean insurance record just to prove a point to a stranger over fast food. Option 2. Back down, swallow my pride, surrender my spot, and let an aggressive bully win once again. My foot wavered on the brake pedal. My intense driving anxiety took over. I surrendered. I pulled back and let him slide his massive truck right in front of my car. The exact second his rear bumper cleared my front headlight, a wave of hot, sickening humiliation flooded my entire chest. My hands were visibly trembling on the steering wheel. He had forced me out. He had used his bigger, heavier vehicle and his complete lack of empathy to intimidate me. And I had backed down like a coward, right in front of my younger cousin. And then, the shock turned into pure, boiling rage. Without consciously planning it, my instinct took over. I slammed my palm down hard onto the center of my steering wheel, and I did not let go. A deafening, continuous, furious horn blast tore through the quiet night air, bouncing off the brick walls of the restaurant and echoing across the entire parking lot. I held it down for 5 long, uninterrupted, aggressive seconds. Do you know what the guy in the truck did? He did not even flinch. He did not jump. He slowly reached up, adjusted his rearview mirror, locked eyes with me through the reflection, and smiled. He raised a lazy hand out of his window and gave me a mocking, sarcastic wave. Leo was turning bright red with anger. He looked at me, shook his head, and whispered that he had never hated a human being so quickly in his entire life. We sat there in agonizing, suffocating silence for the next several minutes as the drive-thru line crawled forward at a painfully slow pace. But the ultimate insult, the moment that truly tested my sanity, came when the black truck finally pulled up to the main ordering speaker. I rolled my window down just an inch to listen in. I fully expected him to place a massive $50 order. I thought maybe he was buying food for a whole party of people, which might slightly explain why he was in such a desperate, dangerous rush. The crackling speaker box barked, asking what he would like to order tonight. The driver leaned his head out of his window and shouted back his order. He asked for a single 5-piece chicken nugget meal. Nothing else. Just 5 tiny chicken nuggets. My mouth literally fell open in absolute, complete disbelief. He had almost caused a multi-car collision. He had risked ruining my night and his own night. He had harassed a complete stranger and broken multiple traffic laws. All for 5 chicken nuggets? He was not starving. He was not experiencing a family emergency. He was just an entitled, selfish parasite who truly believed that his 2 minutes of waiting time were more valuable than anyone else's safety or dignity. And believe it or not, he was still not done being infuriating. After paying for his 5 nuggets at the window, instead of driving away to let the rest of the queue move forward, he put his truck in park, right in front of the window. He sat there in full view of everyone, slowly unwrapping his food, opening a sauce packet, and completely blocking the only exit lane for every single car behind him. The poor young female employee at the window looked exhausted and stressed. She timidly asked him to please pull forward into a parking stall so the line could move. The guy just waved his hand dismissively at her face, ignoring her completely, taking a slow, deliberate bite of his food while 6 cars sat idling in pure frustration behind him. Leo shook his head, completely speechless, and remarked that this man was a textbook sociopath. Finally, after what felt like an absolute eternity, the truck lurked forward and disappeared around the corner of the building. We pulled up to the speaker, placed our order, drove to the window, paid the tired employee, and received our bag of food. The entire ordeal had taken nearly 20 full minutes, but my brain was still operating on pure adrenaline. My anger had not dissolved. Instead, it had condensed into a cold, sharp, crystal-clear focus in my mind. I placed the food in the passenger footwell, shifted my sedan into drive, and began to navigate toward the exit. I originally intended to just leave the premises and head straight home to forget the whole thing. But as I rounded the corner toward the main parking lot exit, I saw something under the streetlights that made my blood run ice cold. The black pickup truck was parked under a dim halogen lamp at the far, isolated edge of the lot. He had not even driven home. He had pulled over just 20 yards away from the drive-thru window simply to sit in the dark and eat his 5 chicken nuggets. I brought my car to an absolute crawl. My heart began to race wildly against my ribs once again, but this time, it was not out of fear, anxiety, or nervousness. This was pure, unadulterated, golden opportunity knocking on my door. Leo immediately noticed the drastic change in my driving speed. He looked out his window at the parked truck, then turned his head to look at me. A slow, sinister, highly mischievous grin began to spread across his face. He pointed out that the main exit lane of the restaurant passed directly, perfectly, past the driver's side window of that truck. I kept my eyes fixed on the truck, took a slow breath, and quietly told Leo that I was well aware. Leo leaned over toward my console, his voice dripping with absolute excitement, telling me that I could not let this guy drive away thinking he owned the world. He told me that if I didn't do something right now, I would regret it for the rest of my life. I took one deep, stabilizing breath. I shifted my car into low gear. I did not speed up like a crazy person. I did the exact opposite. I slowed my car down to an agonizingly slow, creeping pace of 5 miles per hour, gliding silently across the dark, wet asphalt like a ghost in the night. As my sedan aligned itself perfectly parallel with his truck, coming to a stop just 2 short feet away from his wide-open driver's side window, I could see everything happening inside his cabin with crystal clarity under the yellow streetlight. He had a half-eaten chicken nugget hanging out of his mouth, dipping sauce smeared across his lower lip, completely relaxed, completely oblivious to his surroundings. His female passenger was still staring mindlessly at her phone screen. I brought my car to a complete, dead stop directly beside his door. The driver slowly turned his head looking deeply confused as to why a car had just pulled up and idled right next to his window in a completely empty parking lot. Our eyes met through the glass once again, but this time, that smug, arrogant, self-satisfied smirk was completely gone from his face. It was instantly replaced by a sudden, flickering shadow of deep, unexplainable confusion. I did not roll down my window. I did not yell at him. I did not scream insults or try to start a physical fight like an idiot. Instead, with my left hand, I slammed my entire palm down onto the center of my steering wheel with every ounce of strength I had, locking the horn down completely. A deafening, unbelievably loud, high-pitched, continuous roar exploded through the silent night air, blasting straight into his open window from just 24 inches away. The physical reaction inside that truck was instantaneous and glorious. The guy violently flinched, practically jumping out of his seat in sheer panic. His hands flew into the air, causing him to drop his box of food directly into his lap, spilling sticky barbecue sauce all over his clean shirt and jeans. The woman in the passenger seat let out a loud, muffled scream, instantly throwing both of her hands over her ears to block out the overwhelming noise. Simultaneously with my right hand, I raised my arm high, extended my middle finger, and pressed it flush against my closed driver's side glass, staring directly into his wide, terrified eyes. He sat there, completely paralyzed, covered in sauce, holding a crushed cardboard box of nuggets, staring at me in absolute horror, embarrassment, and shock as the horn continued to echo violently off the concrete walls of the building. He could not move. He could not speak. He could not drive away. He was parked in gear. He was trapped. He was completely and utterly exposed. I held that horn down and I kept my finger pressed firmly against the glass for 6 agonizing, beautiful, victorious seconds, long enough for the audio and visual message to imprint itself onto his subconscious mind for the rest of his natural life. Then, without taking my eyes off his pale, sauce-covered face for even a fraction of a second, I stepped firmly on the accelerator pedal and smoothly sped out of the parking lot, leaving him sitting all alone in the dark with his ruined clothes, his spilled food, his humiliated girlfriend, and his completely shattered ego. The second we hit the main road, Leo burst into the most hysterical, uncontrollable laughter I have ever heard in my life. He was slapping his knee, cheering at the top of his lungs, and screaming that it was the greatest thing he had ever witnessed. As for me, the rush of pure adrenaline coursing through my veins felt better than anything I had ever experienced before. My hands on the steering wheel were no longer shaking from fear or driving anxiety. They were steady, calm, strong, and completely confident. Was it a little bit petty of me? Yes, absolutely. Was it slightly immature? Probably so. But in that single, glorious moment, seeing the utter shock, terror, and humiliation on that bully's face made every single second of my previous frustration worth it. Sometimes, bullies in this world do not need a grand, cinematic downfall. They do not need a long, boring lecture from an authority figure, and they certainly don't need a physical fight. Sometimes all an entitled, arrogant person really needs is a very loud, completely unexpected wake-up call, to violently remind them that they are not the center of the universe, and that their actions have immediate consequences. And as for those 5 chicken nuggets, I truly, sincerely hope he enjoyed every single bite.